I'm out here in the beach at Alameda, California, and it's a nice day, beautiful day, except for the owner of this boat. It's probably not having a very good day. This is a Formosa 41, and it's exactly like the boat I own and I live on. And I drove down to the post office yesterday and I found it washed up on the beach here. Actually, this may not be a Formosa. There's several different manufacturers who build this boat in Taipei, Taiwan. And the original design was designed by naval architect William Garden, who lived in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And he designed both powerboats and sailboats. And so this boat could be from a different boatyard in Taipei. There's at least 3 or 4 of them. And the boat I live on is a Formosa 41-foot sailboat. And so it was built at the Formosa boatyard in Taipei. One thing about this boat that makes me wonder that it may not be a Formosa is the rectangle window there. There's only one window, and my boat has 2. So there's 2 bigger rectangle-sized windows side by side on the side of the cabin there. So yeah, that's really weird. That would be very strange if my boat was like that inside. I wouldn't like it. It'd be too dark. So I don't know what's up with that. This cabin might have been rebuilt. My boat and Formosa boats, the older ones, my boat was built in 1975, tend to have a lot of leaks on the cabin top. And so they've been known as leaky tikis. And so my boat was no exception. It leaked like a sieve when it rained. So I had to fiberglass the entire top and sides of the cabin on my boat. It was a huge job. I thought I could get it done in 5 days, and it took me literally 5 years, just mainly working on the weekends. So that was pretty crazy. So the reason is the plywood top and the sides, there's a seam where they come together. And my boat was fiberglass originally at the manufacturer with 1 layer of fiberglass cloth. But what's weird is they didn't fiberglass over the seam. They fiberglassed up to the seam on the top and fiberglassed up to the seam on the sides and left the seam to where water could get in. And they put strips of teak wood over where the seam is, and so it made the boat look really nice, but it didn't stop the water from getting in. So I had some little bit of dry rot on the other side of the cabin from what you see in this photograph. I would be on the port side, and so I had to treat it with penetrating epoxy to fix the dry rot, and then I fiberglassed over the entire cabin and top with 2 layers of 1.5 ounce chopped strand mat. The first layer I stapled every 3 inches or so over the entire cabin top and sides. So I had a lot of staples. They were stainless steel staples. And I did that to keep the fiberglass from ever coming loose from the wood. So that's a good way. If you're going to fiberglass over a wooden structure, you really should staple the first layer to it. That way it'll never come loose. So that's what I did, and so it was a lot of work. But there's other boat manufacturers, like I said, in Taipei, and so this could be a different one than a Formosa. So they're very similar. There are very slight differences, and every year model of Formosa sailboats like mine, there were slight differences every year, very, very slight. So and some of those differences might have even been in the same year. I'm not sure, but I do see other Formosa 41s similar to mine, and the other 41 footers that are the same design from the other boat yards. They're definitely different than the Formosa, and the hull's the same, but the cabin tops and the interior can be different, a little different, but for the most part, they're still very similar. This is my boat, and you can see it's in a little bit better condition than the other boat. So let's see what else is going on with this boat. The on the bow, there's normally a bowsprit, which is a pole that goes out through that hole there you see in the very tip of the bow, and it sits on top of that other piece that's sticking out. It's kind of a support, and so it sticks out makes the boat probably another 4 or 5 feet longer in the front. And then there's a pulpit that sits on top of the bowsprit, so you can walk out there onto it. But on this boat, the bowsprit and the pulpit is missing. The sliding hatch on the cabin top is exactly like my boat, and it's made out of teak. And my boat also has a teak deck, so they all of them have teak decks originally. And a lot of people don't like teak decks, and there's several reasons why not to like them. But depending on the more modern boats now, the teak decks are actually glued down instead of using wood screws. So the wood screw deck is a problem, and water gets in under the planks, and it can cause, all those screw holes can cause dry rot to get into the core of the deck, because the deck on these boats are made out of plywood. So mine still has the teak deck, which I love the teak deck, and I've done some work on it. The previous owner has also done work on it. What happens is rainwater gets down into where the screws are, and that's what gets into the core of the deck and causes the dry rot. So I have a previous video on YouTube where I deal with that, showing how I do it to fix it. So what I do is I take the screw out, and I put acetone down into the hole with a syringe and just saturate it down into the core of the deck. And then after that dries, the acetone will suck the moisture back out of the wood. And then I go ahead and I can inject penetrating epoxy down into the core of the deck. And then when that cures, then I can go ahead and drill a new hole and screw the screw back in, or preferably a new screw. And so they're stainless steel screws, and it's good to just replace them with new ones. So I have a video on that, and you can check it out on my channel. And but this boat doesn't have a teak deck, so the previous owner, or the owner of this boat, removed the teak deck. So yeah, the hatch on top, it's a sliding hatch just like mine. It's made out of teak. The one hatch in the front on the very bow, you can see it's partially open. I can't see from what I'm looking at here if it's exactly like mine. I don't think so. Mine's teak, and it's a big hatch that sticks up, so it gives you headroom when you're standing in the forward cabin. The forward cabin doesn't have a lot of headroom. The rest of the boat does have a lot of headroom. I can stand up in the forward cabin. My head just barely touches the ceiling. But if you're taller, at least it gives you a little space where you can stand up, and because you can sleep up in the forward cabin, and if you want to stand up, put your clothes on or whatever, yeah, you can do that if you're taller, and because the hatch will add another, I don't know, probably about 6 inches maybe to the headroom. So, at any rate, moving on. These boats have beautiful lines. It's a long keel boat, it's traditional design, and so there's long keel boats and there's fin keel boats and keels kind of in between, and so there's a debate about which is the best. They both have their advantages and disadvantages. One thing nice about a long keel boat is you can easily beach them, like this boat is sitting here, deliberately to clean and paint the bottom. You can't do that just anywhere. There's places you'd probably get in trouble if you tried to do it, but depends on where you're at. So that's one thing nice about a long keel boat. Here's a little more of a view of the keel, and you can see it's just long. It's my boat and this boat here. The draft is 6 feet, 6 feet 1 inch. So from the blue water line there and down to the very bottom of the keel is about 6 feet, and so that's the draft of the boat. And it's a traditional wine glass shaped hull, so they're not as fast as a finned keel boat, and they're not they don't sail upwind as well, and but they track really well, and depending on your steering system, they tend to work pretty well with wind vanes and stuff like that, but because they track so well. And what's nice is, like I said, you sit them on the ground, and they got a nice long keel to sit on. And these boats have internal ballast, which I really like. I'm not real crazy about external ballast because you have keel bolts that go through the ballast, and usually it's lead. So these bolts they go through the lead all the way up and through the bottom part of the boat into the interior, and you have to tighten these keel bolts periodically, and then over time the bolts will decay and will have to be replaced. And I mean, that may be something that will never happen because they may last forever, but they can start to decay. Stainless steel rusts when you cut the oxygen off to it, believe it or not. So I've seen stainless steel screws and bolts that were badly decayed because they're cut off from oxygen getting to the metal. Usually chain plates that are made out of stainless steel that are on the side of the hull that hold the standing rigging up. You can see on a lot of boats, you'll see rust streaks for when the salt water got up behind the chain plate, and the stainless steel was rusted because it was cut off from the oxygen, and then you get these rust stains that you have to clean off. And so that's something that you need to know about, that metal does decay. Doesn't matter what it's made out of. And here you can see the red bottom paint and some graffiti on there. And there's some through-hole fittings. You can see those little round holes there. Through-hole fittings on boats will be located in different areas. And even though it's the same model of boat, they don't always tend to be in the same place. So this looks a little different than mine, I think. But one of those is for the water inlet for the head. The other one is for the sink in the head to drain out. And this is the the back of the boat. So you can see the rudder is hard over to port, and you can see the aperture, which is the hole where the prop is at. And it's a 3-bladed prop, and that's what my boat has. And I was almost tempted to take this prop off of this boat because the previous owner of my boat had the prop cut down. The guy at the boatyard suggested that he cut the prop down, and the reason for that is it creates less drag while you're sailing. But he regretted it. He said, your boat's gonna have to run at a higher RPM to get up to hull speed. So I don't know. I motored from San Leandro up to Alameda, and I was going kind of slow, but I had a lot of barnacles on my prop, so I think that was slowing me down. And the bottom of my boat wasn't real clean, so I was only going like 4 knots, and I think I was running at about 1900 RPM, which seemed kind of slow, but I got there okay. And but it's a sailboat, so most of the time you're sailing and not motoring, and mainly you're just motoring to get in and out of the marina. Depends on the situation. If the wind stops blowing, then you're stuck, so yeah, you got a motor. And if it's a long ways, it'd be nice to have the bigger prop, but it's also nice to not have as much drag while you're under sail. And here you can see the transom, and there's no name on this boat. If somebody dumped this boat, they probably removed the name and scratched out the hull number so they couldn't trace it. But you can see the through-hole fitting there, the through-hole on the it's on the starboard side of the boat, on the right side, and that's for the engine exhaust, I would imagine. And mine's on the bottom of the boat, and it's still above the water line, but on my boat I can't see it, which kind of sucks because marine engines use seawater to cool the engine, and that seawater is blown out through the exhaust port with the exhaust. So it's nice to be able, when you start your engine, to look out over the back of the boat and see that water's coming out of the exhaust, because that's very important. If the water's not coming out of the exhaust, then you got a problem with your cooling system and your engine could get damaged. So yeah, my boat's the exhaust port is on the bottom, and I just cannot see it while I'm on board my boat. I think I have this mirror on a pole kind of thing. It's like an extending antenna type. It looks like a little antenna you pull out, and it's got a little mirror on it. So I can hang that over the side and see if water's coming out of the exhaust. Otherwise, I have to get off the boat onto the dock when I start the engine, and that's normally what I do. But if I'm not on a dock and I'm just out in the water and I start the engine, I can't see if coolant is going through the exhaust. Now, I do have a strainer inside the boat with a clear top, so I have to get into that by removing a boat cushion and a part of a settee to get down to where my engine's at, and I could see it from there, but that's kind of a pain. So yeah, but that's the stern of the boat. And here you can see the companionway, the main hatch that you enter the boat. And so, wow, what a mess. It's too bad. My boat has all this really nice teak railing around the back, and I think there's still some left on this boat, but most of it's gone. So I don't know what happened. This boat looks stripped down. I don't know if it was stripped down after it was beached, or somebody, it looks to me like somebody was just dumping it, and they stripped everything off it that was worth anything and probably scrapped it and made a little money off of that, and then just dumped the hull. Unless they were towing it, or I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, it's a sad situation. I don't like seeing stuff like this. It just depends on the circumstances of why this boat is here. So I have no idea. But it's a sad sight and something that most sailors don't like seeing. So, because this could happen to any boat, end up on the beach, and that's the worst. Because a lot of times it's pretty much impossible to get them back in the water, and you can lose your boat. So, if you found this video to be helpful, please like and subscribe.